And in this video, we're going to take a look at the presence, IM and presence, and Jabber for Windows. So we're going to start off looking at our basic IM&P initial tasks and service activation. Then we're going to configure the UCM and what's required there for our end users to log in on their Jabber client. And we're going to move on to actually bringing up the Jabber for Windows client and just logging in, making sure we can send instant messages, adding contact. Going to Deskphone control mode, Softphone, getting voicemail working, creating an XML file for UDS contact resolution. We're going to make a video call to one of the 9971 devices. We're going to wrap up with BFCP. BFCP stands for Binary Floor Control Protocol, and this is basically going to allow us to do a desktop sharing to our contact. Okay, so let's start off with the IM and presence. This is one of the easier sections in the lab, I would say. So initially we come in and we want to modify that to be the IP address. I'm assuming there's no DNS. I'm also assuming that there's no Active Directory there as well. We're just using the built-in directory user data store in UCM. So we'll need to go in and modify that domain name to be the IP address of our present server. And the present server in my case is .15. That's the first thing that needs to be done. It tells you need to restart some services, but my experience is you have to reboot the box. So that's one of the first things we'll have to do. One other task while we're here, we do need to have a valid domain name set here. Okay, and we cannot change it at this moment in time. So it's asking you to stop the services, presence engine, proxy, and XCP router. Now I think the presence engine should automatically, or in my lab anyway, it's not been activated, but the XCP router is actually running. So you can see here the proxy and the presence engine are not running. So that's okay. But let's go to network services and stop that XCP router. And there it is. You see right now it's running. So let's just stop that. I just simply couldn't modify the domain name. And it takes about 20-30 seconds for that to stop. Let's just check that it is stopped. XCP router not running now. Okay, fantastic. So let's go back to administration and just go in and change that domain name. I'm going to just use the domain name of CCIE.collab.com. You're going to see a lot of autocomplete happening in this video. Okay, and I think that took. The IP address is there, and the domain name is there. Now it's time to go in and restart the IM&P appliance. Okay, from the command line then, util system restart, and then just confirm that. And that will take, as you say, 5-10 minutes to come back. In the meantime, we can proceed to the second bullet point here, which is our UCM configuration. So in terms of the UCM configuration, what are we going to be doing? Well, first of all, we're going to have the Jabber for Windows client pulls down information from two sources. It pulls it down from the TFTP. So if we were using Softphone, there'll be a configuration file. We've also got, so that'll be a CSF XML file. We could be pulling down, well, we will be pulling down all the information in our service profile that's assigned to the end user. So that will be the IM&P box, the voicemail server, for example, the CTI manager if it was Deskphone control. Okay, so the TFTP is very important. We also have another source of information, which will be our Jabber config.xml file that we will be building, and we'll come back to that later on. But there is two sources of information for this Windows for Jabber client that we're going to be using. Now I need to go in the UCM now and create the service profile, create the end users. if I'm going to be using Softphone, then obviously go in and create the CSF device, Client Services Framework. Now, my environment that I'm going to be playing around with, we're going to have two users, HQ1 and HQ2. This guy is going to be using Softphone, so using CSF, Softphone, and this guy's going to be controlling HQ Phone 2. So this is going to be CTI, this is the CSF Softphone mode. So two Jabber for Windows client, one is using Deskphone control, one is using Softphone. So let's go in now. I'm going to be using voicemail obviously later on. Let's just go in and create all our service UC services and create a service profile. So our UC services will start off at the very top, IM&P. There's the present server, and I didn't have to, that should have been down below. Let's just put IM&P there. Let's go in and create the CTI. This is for Softphone mode. This is going to be my subscriber. And let's add another one there. Backup, which is our publisher. And then let's go in and add, let me leave voicemail for the time being. I'm going to address that separately. So all I've done at the moment then is define our IM&P and define our CTI managers. Okay, so I've got 3 UC services. I'm now going to create a service profile, and obviously I'll come back to this for voicemail. So both clients are going to make this the default. Subs and charge, pubs backup. And I've got a couple of end users there already, but before I go to the end users, let's just go in and create the CSF device. Okay, I've got 2. I don't need to have a CSF HQ2 since this user here is using Deskphone control. We don't need a client services framework endpoint created in the UCM. We only need to have that CSF device here since this is the only guy that's going to be using Softphone. Okay, but I'm leaving it in there anyway. There's a task I'm going to be using later on for BFCP where we do need to have 2 Softphones. So I'll leave that in there for the time being. Let's go in, and by the way, let's just for completeness, go into CSF1. Inside there, not a whole lot of non-default settings. Obviously, you have to set the common phone profile, the device pool. I've got SIP, the SIP profile, just as standard. In fact, you can see here what I did some work already. It's SIP profile. You see I was doing some BFCP work there, so ignore that for the time being. I've got a DN inside the DN, so this is a DN on HQ Phone 1 and now the CSF device. It's the usual things I'm doing in here. Probably a good idea to put an external phone number mask all the time in case we're making any calls out, which requires it. Maybe you want to be putting in the display name as well. Okay, so there's the CSF device. Let's now go to the end users. HQ1, and inside here I'm enabling him for presence. Now I can use the default since I marked the service profile earlier as default. And I'm also going to make sure I have line association. Line association here set from the end users. This is required for phone presence. When I lift the receiver, if I'm a contact to somebody, they'll see me as on the phone, busy on the phone. Again, we're going to come back to that. And then this end user, it's obviously the username password is set. I've got device association already done. In terms of the permissions, I just set in the lab environment everything. Okay, don't be afraid to do that. And HQ Phone 2, similar sort of thing here. We're going to enable this guy for presence, and then we're going to get line association working here as well. Now I'm assuming that we don't have the CSF there. Okay, and again, permissions, all good, everything. So that's our end users configured. We also need to create a SIP trunk. A SIP trunk is when a user, let's just say it's HQ2, who's controlling this phone over here, when we go off hook here, the UCM is going to send a publish message, okay, to the IM&P. And then my Jabber client here for HQ1, I've got HQ2 as a contact. I'm going to see that this guy's on the phone. This is phone presence. The SIP trunk is required to send that published message to the IM&P. So we're going to create this the SIP trunk inside UCM. To IM and presence. And the IP address of my IM and presence server here. Default ones. Give that a reset. At this point in time, let's go back to the presence IM&P. We're going to go down to serviceability and make sure, let's activate all our services actually. And then we'll make sure they're all started and running. So check all services, just hit save. While you're waiting for those services to activate, go and go to the command line on the IMP and just check that NTP is synchronized to the publisher UCM, and it is, no problem there. If it wasn't, type in utils NTP restart. You do want to have NTP synchronization with the UCM publisher. This is because it's important for the synchronization between the two. So we're good there, and at this point in time, services should be activated. Okay, they are all now showing activated. Takes about a minute or so. Let's return to administration and verify that they're all running in just 1 second. So go to system cluster topology, and over here hover the mouse over and you should see a bunch of green. Okay, every now and again the sync agent doesn't start. At this point in time, maybe you can try starting it or going into the UCM and restarting the actual web service is also very useful. Another good useful thing to do, go to UCM Publisher. You can check here that all the actual credentials go to the bottom. You can check connectivity and the credentials are correct. It shouldn't be the case that they've messed up the passwords, but just in case you have a problem with that sync agent, and this is how we get all our end users imported into the IM&P. Very important that this is running. So again, it takes 30 seconds or so, and here you can see connected successful, so you know all the credentials there are correct. At this point in time, we should see our end users in the database, and over here you can see the two users are licensed for presence, 2 devices, so everything looks good right now. So at this point in time, we should be ready to sign in to the Jabber for Windows. There's bits and pieces missing in my configuration, but as we go down this list here, we're going to go and find which bits are missing right now. But number 1 and 2 is done. I know for sure I need to go on my IMP and figure out the presence published SIP trunk. We need to create the CCM CIP, the TFTP. So we're going to get to that very shortly. So right now, let's go and fire up Jabber. Okay, just about to fire up Jabber. Before I do that, I'm going to go to C users admin, hidden folder app data in local unified communications. I'm deleting the Jabber folder there, which deletes all my local contacts. And then I'm going to go to the roaming, which will delete any XML files I may have downloaded in the past. So the Jabber folder in the local and roaming folders have been deleted. Because I know for sure my PC that I'm working on, I've been playing around a lot with this in the past, and I probably have existing contacts and existing XML files I want to get rid of. Okay, so at this point in time, looking for the Jabber shortcut over here, we should see it appear, and Because I've deleted everything in those folders, I need to set on-prem presence, set the server. I'm going to put the IP address of my presence. Now the domain name, I'm not using domain, so it doesn't really matter what you put there. And here I'm putting HQ1 and the password of Cisco, which is my UCM end user password. And the first thing right off the bat, I can see I've logged in and available, which is a good sign. I do have a domain name showing. This is the domain name that was configured from the very beginning of this video in the IM, under system cluster topology, under settings there. So it's that domain name with prefixed by the end user. Now you see here Softphone, Deskphone, that's all failing right now, which is something I'll fix shortly. If I go to show connection status, you can see Softphone's not working, Deskphone control's not good, but the presence is connected. So that's a good sign. So let's get let's just get the other user here. This is going to be HQ2, and we're going to be using Deskphone control mode here. Cisco. Okay, same thing over here. You can see HQ2 and everything is going to be failing right now. I want to just go ahead and check that instant messaging is going to be working. Now, I don't have UDS any directory. I can't add, or I'm not going to add, I can't search for contacts over here. If I go and try and do a new contact, and I can't search for anybody because there's no directory integration with the Core Manager UDS directory, nor do I have integration with any Active Directory third-party LDAP. So as it stands, one of the easiest ways is to add a user from the web page. The user would need to have access to the standard CCM end users. Okay, so I go to just type in the presence appliance web IP address and select the user web page, and I can log in as HQ1 here, and I'm going to add HQ2 as a contact. Now I'm going to undo all this when I finally get UDS contact resolution working, but for now just HQ2, and I shouldn't have to restart anything here. You can see that placed in the general group. I can just send a message now. Okay, if I just put in test from HQ1, and you can see that's there. Now on this guy, I can add a contact just by pressing that button there. Add it to a group, or the default, if I did it from the web page, was general. So let's put new group. Let's call this one lab. Okay, and so I'm over here as well. So we've got instant messaging working in both directions. If I change my status over here to be away, that should be reflected over there. And so there's not a whole lot required for this. Besides the steps I've carried out, there's no SIP trunk involved. And this is your first initial check with presence. Secondly then, the next thing we need to do, let's get Deskphone control working, and we're going to be using Deskphone control over here at HQ2. And let me just change the size of this client here. With Deskphone control, we need to have an end user created, which I've done before, HQ2. We've got device association to a physical device. I'm going to just remove that CSF because I'm not actually going to be using the Softphone. Okay, and my bad. Let's just go in device association there and uncheck the CSF device. Okay, so we've got device association. We've got the default option here, allow control of device from CTI, prime extension. All these settings are done for other reasons. In terms of the permissions, I'd added everything, but the ones I would need are standard CTI enabled, and also standard for the 9971s, this one over here, standard CTI, allow control of phone supporting connected transfer and conference. We need to have those two when controlling a 9971. In my case, I just did everything. Then we need to have obviously the UC service with a CTI manager there created, pub and sub, the IP addresses. This has been added to the service profile. The service profile contains CTI sub and pub, and then the end user, obviously, and that was the default profile. The end user has presence enabled. Okay, so everything looks good. The only thing we're lacking right now is inside our presence server, we do need to create a CCM CIP profile. And let's just call it CCM CIP. This will be our directory source for when we come to do Softphone mode and when we're doing UDS directory integration. But it's also required for finding out device discovery inside our core manager. So you're probably always going to have this with Jabber for Windows. Okay, it's used for UDS directory resolution and also device discovery. So let's go and add those two users to the profile right now. Okay, and there we go. We should at this point in time, if I sign out and sign back in again, we should be able to control the 9971 device, HQ phone 2. Deskphone control ensures server information is correct. That's a bit unusual. Let's just have a quick look at that, what it says. I should be able to just use my phone. It's still not working. We should also go to, in the IMP, set the TFTP server as well. Forgot to do that. Okay, this is how the client's going to learn all the stuff inside our UCM built in the configuration file. So again, let me go and exit out of that. Sign back in again. Okay, and there we're good to go there. So a couple of things then in the IMP have done. Under application, always set the TFTP server there and set the CCM CIP profile and add those end users. This was going to be important for UDS contact resolution as well as Deskphone control and also Softphone. So these are two essential things that you must always go in and do. Okay, so at this point in time, I should be able to control my Deskphone. Now it's going to be kind of awkward here. The phone I'm controlling here is the one in the top left. So if I actually call, let's just say I'm calling 911. So this client over here is controlling that phone over here. It takes there's a bit of a delay before this actually shows up, and you can see that's happened. I've answered on the PSTN phone. The RTP stream does not come to the Jabber client. We are simply controlling this phone. The phone over here is terminating the RTP stream. That phone is on an active call. So this is good for click to dial and that kind of thing. So let me just end that call. Deskphone control appears to be working just fine. We go inside over here on the Jabber client, if I can find it. Help, connection status, Deskphone is working. And that's a CTI connection. So the next thing I want to do, let me close that. The next thing I want to do is check Softphone mode. This is going to be HQ phone 1. So over here, I need to have a CSF device. I talked about that. I've created it already. CSF doesn't have to be the username there. It should be in caps though. So CSF, ABCD, doesn't matter what it is. I've associated the CSF device with the end user HQ1. There it is, right there. And usual stuff at the bottom, but not required actually. Primary extension is set. So at this point in time, if I go to HQ1, because I've set the TFTP server and the CCM CIP, if I just close that client down, let me just minimize that, get rid of that, close this client down and then relaunch it. when I sign in, I should be going into Softphone mode straight away. There we go. You see, that's good. The reason why it wasn't working before was because I hadn't configured the TFTP. I hadn't configured the CCM CIP. So show connection status, you can see over here that there is my Softphone connected, and at this point in time I can call, let me call 911 here. This is not controlling. Okay, you can hear some the RTP stream coming to my laptop. I'm not controlling a desk phone. This is a physical device. This is a device, a phone that is terminating the RTP stream. So Softphone mode is working right now. We should be able to see that the device has registered inside our UCM. There it is. There's our CSF, and it's showing registered. Just beware that we do have this user HQ1 associated to both a CSF as well as a physical phone, HQ phone 1 as it happens. So HQ1 can also go in and have desk phone control of that device. So if I did that, you can see I'm going to change that to use my phone. I've just changed that. Watch this appear as the desk phone control. Okay, that's because I have access to the CTI managers in my service profile. If you wanted to avoid that from happening, we should have a service profile that does not contain those UC services. So when I went to the end user, I just created a single service profile. Okay, and this service profile is a default for everybody, and it contains sub and pub. If I wanted this Softphone user HQ1 to not be able to switch into desk phone control, I should create a new service profile that doesn't have any CTI information. So that is a risk, because what will happen is, right now I'm controlling HQ phone 1. If I sign out and sign back in, it will remember what I used last, so it will no longer be a Softphone. I'll have to manually make it a Softphone again. And it just remembers every time you sign out or close the client and relaunch it, it just uses what you were using the previous time you were signed in. So be careful of that. I'm a bit lazy right now. I'm not going to bother creating a new separate service profile. I'm happy that he or she can be Softphone or desk phone control. So let's work on voicemail. Now, because we're using Jabber 923 in the lab, okay, so in the lab, CCIE Collaboration Lab, 923 is the active version of Jabber for Windows. We are using the VM REST interface to connect to the Unity connection. 9.1 uses IMAP to pull down these messages. So if I go in my Unity connection and go to the class of service, okay, all I have to do here is check this checkbox. I'd already done that when I was setting up my Unity connection, but we can leave everything else here alone, just allow the web inbox to be enabled. Having done that, we should ensure our users, we know what the web application password is. So inside here, the password for web application, I'm going to make it Cisco. Okay, it was already Cisco. It's complaining about repeat credentials, so it's already Cisco. Under password settings, make sure you don't have user must change at next sign in. Okay, uncheck that for web application. What am I doing? A voicemail in web application. Don't have to sign in and change it. To make it Cisco, that password, we, under web application, under authentication rules, web application, I did uncheck trivial passwords and stored, minimum credential length is 5 as well. Okay, so that's probably the first thing I would have done. So as it stands right now, everything inside our Unity connection is done. Web inbox enabled, authentication rules, credential length, trivial passwords disabled. User doesn't have to change at next sign in, and I've made it Cisco. In terms of what I do inside the UCM and the IM&P, I need to go in and create a mail store UC service. Okay, this is going to be the Unity connection IP address. I'm not going to change anything there right now, just the IP address is important. Even though we're using the VM REST interface, don't need to change the port and protocol. Once I've got the mail store UC service, let's go in and add it to the profile. Profile, Unity connection, there we go. And we can launch the Jabber client. I closed it down. Okay, it needs to pull down a new information from the TFTP server, so HQ1 Cisco. Okay, we see this little messaging voicemail icon there. If I go to connection status, I can see voicemail. Okay, it currently says not connected. That's because I haven't changed my haven't entered my credentials, phone accounts, HQ1. This is going to be Cisco now. And I do have a message waiting. You see HQ phone 1, I left a message there, and the Jabber client is able to retrieve it right now. Okay, so that's voicemail working. Now, rather than me having to enter my credentials, let me just exit out of that. Now, those credentials are remembered. I'm going to delete the Jabber folder in roaming, and I'm going to go to local and delete the folder there. Now, if I relaunch the Jabber client, okay, I have to go through the motions over here. HQ1 Cisco. So that's come back, and it's forgotten the credentials I've put in. Okay, so those credentials are not there right now. Now, rather than having me to enter those credentials, what I could do is synchronize or use the call manager directory username password. So what I can do is I can create a voicemail UC service. Put the IP address of the Unity connection box there. Hit save. When I come to add this to the service profile, I put it in there, and I can change the credential source, which currently is the Unity connection web application password. I can just say get that password. Rather than having to input it from within the client, I can use the presence credentials. Now, what I need to make sure then is in my UCM, I need to make sure that this password here, okay, is Cisco, because that's what I've got set inside the Unity connection as our web application password. So this here is Cisco. It's also Cisco in Unity connection over here in the end users, the web application password. It's Cisco there as well, like I've done before. Now, the beauty of this mechanism, or this way of doing it, is I don't need to go into the client, the Jabber client, and set the phone credentials over here. So if I sign out of that or exit out of that, okay, the only thing I must remember to do is go in on the UCM and assign that. Just make sure the service profile has that. I just remembered, did I save it? Yes, I did. There's a Unity connection. We're using the IM and presence and call manager credentials. So if I launch the client now, I shouldn't need to have to enter the credentials from within the client. And if you had LDAP Active Directory integration, then it will be the Active Directory username and password that will be used for voicemail access. Okay, it says voicemail is connected, which is great. Now I don't have a message right now. Let me leave a message in the background. I'm going to stop the video at this point. But the fact that it says connected, if I actually go down in options, I don't even get phone accounts, don't even get the opportunity to enter my credentials. Now I'm leaving a voicemail right now. Okay, and there it is. Okay, so this is a neat way to get access to voicemail working without having to enter the credentials from within the client. Let's now work on UDS contact resolution over here. And up to now, I've got my clients using or have manually added these contacts. So let me go and delete those right now. Okay, those were done earlier, added in earlier. Okay, and at this point in time, it's a good idea to just delete the, I'm going to delete the, we delete the local and the roaming folders again. Okay, so there's the local one deleted. In fact, that is complaining the client's still open. That's why. Let me sign out of the client. Close the client. And let's go to the roaming folder and delete that as well. Now I need to build an XML file to tell the client to use the call manager directory, which is known as UDS, user data source. So if I go to, this is the Cisco support pages that you get in the lab. I'm going to go to collaboration endpoints, and then inside there, software clients, Jabber for Windows, and then install and upgrade guides, and then if I get a Jabber 9.2 install and configuration guide, inside the chapter for configure Cisco Jabber for Windows, I've got an example configuration file there. What I can do here is just take that file, copy, paste it into a notepad. Now a lot of this is stuff I don't need, so what I actually need is the stuff inside directory, the directory tag there. So I'm going to get rid of everything except for the top two lines, the version of XML config version. Then we've got directory server type EDI. Let me just make it a little bit bigger so we can see that a bit better. So EDI will be an Active Directory, Enhanced Directory Integration. I'm going to make that UDS. Everything else I'm going to remove there. So we got the Open Directory tag, Close Directory tag, Directory Server type, remove the policies. Okay, so those are that is our Jabber XML file. I'm going to save that. Now save it as UTF-8 format, and I'm going to just put that. Let's just put it. In a new folder on my computer. Call it jabber-config.xml, saved as UTF-8 use.xml. Now I'm going to upload this to my TFTP servers. Now I've got two TFTP servers, remember. I've got the pub and the sub. Let's just go ahead and do the pub first. So I'm inside OS admin. For some reason it's not working. And I'm going to upload the jabber-config.xml file to the publisher and then repeat these tasks on the subscriber. So this is the local computer I'm working on, my desktop. There it is over there. Upload file, put it in the root. It doesn't look like I actually selected it properly. Let's just do that again. Choose that one. upload file. Now I'm going to restart that service. I just want to make sure the format of the file is correct. So I'm going to restart the service, uploaded it on the publisher, restart the TFTP service, I should say. And just waiting for that to be started again, activated, started. And then I'm going to go to R1 and do a copy TFTP flash, type in the IP address of my publisher, and then just see if I can pull that down. Okay, and it's pulled it down just fine. Let's do a more Jabber config.xml, make sure the format looks good. Okay, it looks fantastic. So that means there shouldn't be any problem when Jabber attempts to pull this down using TFTP. The only thing that remains then is to go to the subscriber webpage. So not really much reason to go to the GUI on the subscriber besides uploading files from the OS administration. And I should go to the OS administration on the subscriber. And I'm going to repeat those tasks again. Upload the file, TFTP file management, upload, select the file, upload, and then we're going to go to serviceability and just restart this subscriber TFTP service. You can do this from the pub or the sub web page. Select the subscriber here. Give that a quick restart. Okay, and repeat those tasks. Make sure I can pull it down from the subscriber call manager. And just make sure that looks good still. So this is a nice little test you can do. Now if I close the client, I've already closed it, so let's relaunch the client. Okay, we should see, this is the roaming folder inside Jabber CSF config. We should see the jabber-config.xml file there. Okay, and we should be able to add the contact. So remember, I've deleted the contact previously. Now I should be able to search for a contact over here. So let's just put in HQ, and there we go. HQ1, HQ2. If I add a, let me just cancel out of that. If I add a new end user, it should appear. So let's just go in and add test as a user. Test. So now from the client, I should be able to do a file, new contact, and then just if I put T, test, there he is. Okay, but in this case, just want to add HQ2 in as my contact. Put him in the general group, and there he is. The other way you can tell UDS integration's working correctly is that there is no domain name appearing at the top. Previously, when we don't have any contact resolution, we see that domain name configured inside our IM&P, but now that's gone. So if I go to the other client, you see there's a domain name. If I close or exit out of that, sign out and sign back in, we should have a similar situation where the domain name at the top has gone. Now, as it stands right now, I cannot make a call. You see, I should see a little telephone icon here appear, and there is nothing there. So I can't make a call. That's because in my end user, I have not provisioned the telephone number. So always make sure you go in and configure that. So there is telephone number, HQ2 is 2002, and HQ1 is going to be 2001, obviously. Okay, and we have to exit out of that again and then relaunch the client. All right, so I spared you the hassle of me doing that on the other client as well. We've got the two clients. So I've put the telephone numbers configured in the end user. So HQ1, you see there, I can make a call, and HQ2, I can make a call back to him. So let's just made a call to HQ phone 2, and over here you can see this little black screen there is actually my data center. If I go to the HQ phone, in fact, let me just quickly turn on the light in the data center so you can see that. Okay, so I've got two-way video call. This is actually the USB camera that's attached to my ESXi host. And so we've got a two-way video call for my Jabber client, which was actually the next bullet there. Now, one thing I'm missing right now is checking phone presence. So if I go on headquarter phone 2 and go off hook, do I actually see that this guy is on the phone? Now you can see here HQ phone 2 is involved in a call with emergency services, yet I don't see that this guy is on the phone. So that is not working. This is where we come back to our SIP trunk and line association. So on HQ phone 2, HQ2 end user, we've got to make sure we have that line appearance. 2002 is there, ignore the CSF. Okay, so that must be there. And then we've got to reset the SIP trunk as well, the one that's pointing to the presence. And then the final thing we have to do is go on the IM presence and set the SIP publish trunk. Now this, let me just get there in a second. Over here, this is actually a call manager service parameter. Okay, that's configurable either from within the service parameters in UCM, but for your convenience, you can do it from the IM&P as well. So this means we're telling call manager when HQ2 associated line 2002 is busy, send a publish message to the present server. So that's what we've told UCM to do. So at this point in time, hopefully, again, I'm not sure if I need to make close the client and relaunch it. Check in a second. No, we don't. No need to relaunch that. You can see HQ2 is on a call. So line association, getting the SIP trunk to presence, and setting that service parameter from the IM&P GUI, resetting the SIP trunk again if you have to. All very important for phone presence on a call there to work. When I end that call, it goes back to normal. The final thing I'm going to talk about in this video is binary floor control protocol, desktop sharing. For that to work, I'm going to have two CSF devices. So HQ1 and 2 are now both soft phones. Okay, I'm not using Deskphone control as I was before for end user HQ2. So with that in mind, let's just check I've logged in and registered. two Jabber clients, two CSF devices should be registered, and they are. For desktop sharing to work, we need to go and create a new SIP profile. So the SIP profile, we're going to make a copy of the standard, copy that, and let's just put in BFCP there. And inside that, there is a checkbox we have to mark to allow presentation sharing using BFCP. So then on the CSF devices, I'm going to change the SIP profile from the standard to be BFCP. And that's the one on HQ1. Let's get it working for the other way around as well. And I'm just going to reset both of those CSF devices. So I'm going to call HQ2 CSF device, answer on the other Jabber client, which I've got on a different computer right now. And you see here, this little icon here appears. Now I'm going to press that on the other client that you can't currently see. Okay, and this is now me sharing my desktop. This is my other PC. So if I just minimize the client there, and there's my Site B PC. If I can, let's just say I want to launch Internet Explorer. Okay, there's my Explorer. I'm sharing my desktop. Okay, so that concludes this video. That's going to give you a very good, solid introduction into what kind of things you need to be prepared for the Collaboration Lab exam.